I cannot believe it, but we are in season 5, and today is episode 1, and it is all about the lessons I learned from taking a pause. So, for the past almost year, I have taken a complete pause from the podcast. I have stepped away from the hotel florist throughout different parts of this year and really have been on a journey that until now I was not really ready to talk about. And somehow I got the download a couple of days ago that was like, the podcast needs to come back and it's time to share what's been going on in order to help you with where you're at right now, as you might be kind of going through something similar. And so today's episode is going to be vulnerable, is going to be healing, is going to be full of excitement and love and just gratitude for even being able to be here with you. And being in your earphones and your ear pods and on your speakers and in front of you, like it does not get wasted on me that I have your attention. And I just want to say how grateful I am for you for being here. And if you want to get caught up and you're not really caught up with where I'm at in my journey and with the Hotel Florist brand and with the podcast, then I highly recommend going to episode 9, I believe it is, or 10. It's the last episode in season 4, where I do a little bit of a breakdown of what my 2022 was going to look like and why I was stepping away. And the really surreal part is that I recorded that, I think, in September of 21, and here I am in November of 2022. So I'm like from the future coming with some messages of the lessons I learned from taking a pause. So let's dive in. So the first thing that I want to share with you, and is a lesson that I haven't necessarily mastered, but I am working on actively and very aware of, is that you don't have to burn things down in order to build new things. So we probably have heard this phrase. It's a phrase that my mentor uses, that, old paradigms don't have to die in order for new paradigms to be born. But we have this innate desire, especially as entrepreneurs, to want to build. It's like the thrill of the chase, like, is it even possible? I have this idea, like, let me turn it into something. And oftentimes we feel like we cannot hold more than one identity. Like, we want to be known for one thing. And some of that is conditioning, and some of that is marketing, and some of that is, maybe an actual visceral feeling inside of us. But the one thing I want to say is that I think the more we allow ourselves to take up space, to speak slower, to trust the timing, trust in other people's power, trust in our own power, trust in our innate abilities and strengths and talents, and do whatever it is that lights us up without needing the validation that it's the right thing, or that it's acceptable by other people, or that we're going in the right direction and everyone else will follow. Like, we can create new things without destroying what we've already created. Like, we can actually build on that. And it might not make sense right away. I mean, floral design business, built online platform, like, the two didn't make sense until now. And I'm going to be sharing probably more of that as it unfolds. It's super exciting. And here's the thing, like, once you really grasp this, now you don't have to like wildly accept it in the beginning, because I'm sure there's a little part of your human that's like, I don't like this. This goes against everything I believe in. But here's the thing, when we look back in hindsight, one, we are always wiser, right? We're like, well, if I knew that, I would have done it differently. Or looking back now, I would have, right? I would have. We're always more wise looking back in hindsight. But here's the thing. Also, when we look back, we realize how insanely incredible and magical the story is that got to be created, that we co-created by simply just allowing it to happen. And so the types of things that I'm working on now in my businesses, I could have never planned for. And the ironic thing is, today I'm revising a website and I'm looking at a mission statement that I wrote 4 years ago. And I remember hating writing this mission statement because I was like, I don't want to be tied down. Nobody's going to get it. Like, I have a big vision, to the point where my director of ops at the time was like, come on, Francesca, we really got to write this mission statement. And I'm like, fine, I'm just going to go all out. And I write this mission statement, and it is the exact position I am in today, 4 days, wow, 4 years later, that's actually happening. Like, it's actually rolling out. And now I'm like, of course, all of that had to happen first. And now the story is just like so incredibly juicy. Like, there's no way I could have told this any better or could have gotten into this position any differently than how it happened. And that's how I love it. And so we don't need old paradigms to die in order for new ones to begin, meaning we don't need to burn down things in order to rebuild new things. And that we don't have to just do one thing in order to be validated. This goes back to my box analogy I used back in 2020. It's like forget the box. Like, we no longer have to fit in a box. Let's break the box down. Let's throw the box away. Like, the box is no longer required. And so what I had found when I was really digging deeper of like, why do I have this feeling that I have to be known for one thing, and I constantly need to build something or go in a different direction. And part of that, I realize, is a trauma response. Now, I am not a trauma certified coach or practitioner. I'm not a psychologist by any means. So this comes from my personal journey, but I think it's a really great conversation to be had. And a mentor used the analogy of pushing off the bottom of the pool. So, when we were kids and we would like jump into the pool and we would do pencils, meaning that you would, stand up as straight as possible and tuck your arms and legs in together, and you would dive into the pool and you would hit the bottom of the pool and you push up as hard as possible. This is a trauma response. We live for the holy smokes, it's happening. Okay, crisis mode. Okay, oh my gosh, I totally solved the problem. And now I am, oh my God, look at me go. I'm winning. I am so successful. Okay, now what? And then we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. And that's part of the vicious cycle of also being validated and needing to be seen. So the lesson 2 that I took from this was that taking a pause is not the same as quitting. And there was a part of me that thought, only people that are kind of hobbyists or only people that are half into it take pauses. Like, there's no such thing as pause. You either do or you don't. And here I am with you again in season 5, after a year-long pause, realizing that actually, you know what? I really needed that pause. I needed that pause to become a better mentor, a better leader, a better educator, a better trailblazer. Like, I needed to reconnect to myself and my purpose. And there was a phrase during 2022 that I just lived by up until about May. And it was, you have to slow down in order to speed up. And this was the only thing that I could get behind to regulate my nervous system. And we all know a regulated nervous system is like the new black, right? So when I first heard this phrase, everything about it bothered me. I'm like, first of all, that doesn't make any sense. Second of all, I don't like to go slow. Third of all, I want to get places fast. I want to get it done. I want to get to the next level. But again, there was a lot of nervous system regulation and healing that only I could do. And so taking this pause and slowing down to speed up really looked more like shooting a bow and arrow. So imagine you have a bow and your arrow, and you're pulling your arrow back very slow, very meticulously. You have your eye on the prize. And then in a split second, the arrow is released. And the arrow is going faster than you could ever imagine, straight into the bullseye. And this hit me as I was on my way to the airport to fly to Kenya to host my retreat. I was like, the arrow has launched. I feel like I'm getting whiplash. There is a lot of wind in my face. And I just took the next few months to really ride that momentum and to see where I landed and to honestly become more grounded in that place. And so taking a pause is not the same as quitting. And I truly believe could really exponentially help your growth more than you probably give it credit for. So even if I took, quote unquote, took a year off from this podcast, and I'm going to talk about numbers here in a little bit to really help you understand this, coming back now and feeling the way I feel and being able to show up the way that I can, and has not only impacted my life, but will impact my client's life like more than I could ever imagine. And on top of that, my bottom line, and on top of that, my other companies, like it probably bought me, honestly, years of my life or years of my businesses. And so taking a pause, I highly recommend if you've been thinking about it. And now, when is the time to do something like this? So my third lesson that I learned from taking a pause is that burnout can look very different throughout your entrepreneurial journey. This year, I celebrated 10 years of being an entrepreneur. I've shared a little bit about my story before, but just as a quick recap, I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2012. I had a degree in hotel and restaurant management. I was working in Dubai. I was working in a corporate office. I wanted to go into development. There was a crisis. I'm not sure if you're aware, but when there's no money, there's no development. And quickly realized that my options to stay within the world of employment were relatively limited. And so it was kind of by fluke that I ended up jumping into freelancing and starting a business. My first business was in cigars, Costa Rican cigars. And my clients were in the Middle East market. And I ended up working with Etihad Airways, Etisalat, which is like T-Mobile, Dubai Duty Free, which is the largest duty free in the world. I took the cigars to Oman and Qatar. I mean, it was insane. And at the same time, I was modeling and doing events and just literally doing whatever I could to make money. Like money was my beacon. And I quickly became really, really ill. That was my first experience with burnout. And in fact, I actually had contracted like a disease that I always live with now because I had so much stress in my body. It was something I had been holding on to, and it's a virus, and boop, there it goes. And now it's something that I actually take medicine for to help me regulate it and to suppress it on a daily basis. And so that's what my first version of burnout looked like. And then I was about 6 months into recovery and just felt like an absolute loser as an overachiever, especially now knowing this from my trauma healing, is that a lot of, especially children who are abused as children who are abused, a lot of them grow up into these overachievers and they burn out, and it's not sustainable in the way that they carry themselves and the demands that they put on their bodies in order to feel seen and validated and worthy of love. And so 6 months into it, I was like, quick, I gotta jump into something else. And this is when I had the idea to start a floral business. And the only reason I had this idea was because I said, whenever I retire, I want to own I want to work in a floral business. And my boyfriend at the time was like, oh no, you'll own one. And I was like, absolutely not. I mean, I had no desire to become an entrepreneur or have any of that kind of stress. So here I am. I'm like, you know what? That's my last resort. flowers can't talk back. If I made money selling cigars to Middle Eastern 40+ year age men, then I can make a flower arrangement. And so I went to quote unquote flower school for like 2 weeks. I got my quote unquote master's, and I started my floral business in 2015. And I quickly grew it. I dove into weddings because I thought that's how you made money. And then one day my husband told me, hey, I want to move to the States. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've just drummed up all this business. We cannot leave the Middle East. And so somehow I thought I could do both. And I came to Houston and I opened up a shop, and every month I was between Dubai and Houston. It made absolutely no sense, but I wanted to save face. I wanted to prove that I was dependable, that I could make it work. I just 100% trusted in myself. And a year later, I opened in Dallas. I became Fairmont Hotels and Resorts Artist in Residence. And flash forward to 2018, now I am burnt out again. I am exhausted. That summer, my apartment caught on fire. I lost pretty much everything, 90% of what I owned. And I just kept going. And in 2019, I found myself just totally out of love with the floral business, but as the only breadwinner in my family. And so I kept going. There was a lot of bitterness. There was a lot of resentment. And that's what burnout looked like for me then. And so the reason why I'm sharing the different versions is because we have to honor the version that we are now, and we have to honor the version that we were then, because both were required to where it is that we actually want to go to. And so in 2021, my version of burnout was that I had given it my all. And I was still really mourning in a way my floral design business that I felt like I had lost overnight, like many of you, if you went through the pandemic, and suddenly being in a whole new online space. And if you've been very successful at something once, I had a mentor recently tell me this: when you've been really successful at something and you try something new, it is such a humbling experience. I came into the online space thinking, oh, I've got this. Like, I've built brick and mortar. I have designed around the world. I've worked with international clients, and it's just different. You know, the online space is consistently showing up, giving value and being vulnerable and creating a brand that is recognizable. And I just, looking back now, not that I would have admitted it then, I was burnt out. I was not feeling inspired. I was feeling like everything was a weight and was in my way, and I really had to step away. And so when you feel like you're starting to become resentful or bitter or disinterested, you know, these are signs of burnout. Burnout is not just when you end up in the hospital. And the longer and the more extreme your version of burnout is, the harder it is to come back from it. And that's something I realized, like, just sitting down today to record this podcast and everything else that's happening, which is just blows my mind behind the scenes in my floral design business, and now in my personal empowerment brand that I've created as well. It's like, wow, we really needed that space and time to make all this happen. And, you know, none of it matters. Like, no one's going to be like, oh, but I remember you've been in business for 10 years, but I remember that 1 year you took off. Like, nobody's going to say that. And so as I'm sitting down and I'm realizing like how I feel in my body today compared to the last episode I recorded in season 4, it's just like night and day. And I really want to encourage you, if you're feeling the pressure, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, like, these are not normal feelings. We've normalized it as a society, but I really want to encourage you to get in a place where you can set yourself up for success, to be able to hit a pause button when you need to, because you really do need to honor this version of you. And if you're struggling a bit, like, okay, I'm feeling this way, but I also feel a lot of pressure and I don't know what to do, you can always ask your higher self, like, what would your higher self do? How would your higher self handle this confrontation? How would your higher self handle her pricing for next year, like her services, her offerings? How available are you? Like, ask your higher self. And in a way, when you do that, it's almost like a memory from the future. And that's what I love about it. And at the same time, how can you see yourself and validate your own needs? So many times we feel like, I wish someone would listen to me, or I just want to feel seen, or I just feel like I'm irrelevant, or, no one's getting it. Like, how can you see yourself first? And honestly, the beginning of my journey with this started with taking hot showers at 2 p.m. Like, made zero sense. I would have maybe 2 minutes. I would come home. I would take off all my clothes. I would get in the shower. I would just have hot water. It just really settled my nervous system. I would jump back out. I would put my clothes back on. I would take a deep breath, maybe drink a glass of water, ask myself if I need a snack, and then I would go at it again. And it's so important, like, as we are navigating, especially the past couple of years, and what I feel is to come in the next couple of years, is like, how can you see and validate your needs first? Which leads me to my next lesson, which is lesson 4, and that your version of success will look different than those you put on a pedestal. And here's what I mean by that. In my last episode, you can hear my story. I've been on a mission for the million. And it's not because I'm some money hungry woman that needs $1 million. It is that I would be the first millionaire in my family. It would break a systemic cycle of poverty within my family unit. I could do so much good with more money. I currently send women to school that can't afford school. I give back to causes that are really important to me. I reinvest in my team. I reinvest in myself. Like, nobody makes impact being the poorest person in the room. But here's the thing that I realized over the past year, and over the past year of working with mentors who are multiple millionaires. I mean, we're talking 2, 3, 4 million a year. We're talking 60 million in the past 2 years, like, really working with them and understanding, like, how are they different? Like, what works in their minds? And the first thing is that we think that we need to be that version. Like, oh, well, I can't make $1 million in this industry, so let me go over to that industry. And the ironic thing is that when I made the declaration of, like, I'm going to be a millionaire, one of my floral clients, I'm going to bring her on the show later on in this season, she hit $1 million in recurring revenue. Like, I put it out there and I was like, you're the millionaire. Like, this is amazing. And by just doing and following and being supported by what I teach, starting with making consistent $5,000 a month. And here she is, making 6 figures a month. And it really got me thinking that, okay, one reason why I haven't made the million yet is because I believed I couldn't make it doing what I loved. And part of that, I think, really kind of like messed up the energetics, whenever you're listening to a radio station and there's static, that belief that I could not make the kind of money I wanted to make in the floral industry, or where I'm at doing the things that I love, really interfered with actually receiving the money. And so what happened was I realized that I became very generic in my eyes, trying to be unique, which reminded me and led me to what I want to tell you today, is that you, I, me, you, us, we already have everything that we need inside of us. Like, everything you need is already within you. And what happens is you lose your power when you start to look outside of yourself. So here I am, like, I'm really loving this world. I'm loving what's happening. I'm loving the impact I'm doing. I consider myself an insanely talented florist. I consider myself a really beautiful, supportive mentor. I consider myself an incredible coach. But I'm going to go over into this other world because that's where the desires of making money are. And then all of a sudden I feel like I'm just trying to fit into a scene like everyone else. Like, I told a mentor, like, I feel like I'm just this, like, basic bitch. Like I'm just like a vanilla wafer. And it feels really good to come back to where I'm at and knowing that the millions are still coming. Like I'm no doubt in my mind that money is on its way to me, but I don't have to go and be and do something that maybe isn't exactly what I need to be doing or being right now. And so the version of success will look different than those you put on a pedestal for you. And truly embodying that version of you that's ready to receive the big desire that you have, I have found takes healing, and healing happens on its own timeline. And this is my 5th lesson. I started writing a book in February of this year, and it's really funny now looking back in hindsight. As I said, we always have really great stories to share when we look back in hindsight. I had told the universe, like, I want to be an incredible leader. And the universe was like, okay, you should write a book. And I'm like, no, I don't really want to write a book. I just want to be a really good leader. Universe is like, great, write a book. So I remember I scheduled a call with my now editor, and we were talking about, you know, what's happening with the book. And I said, so it's February and I need to have the book published by April, because I just need to do this real quick. I don't know why. I've always wanted to write the book, but for some reason it has to be right now. I just, you know, whatever, we're going to get it done. And she was like, okay, crazy. And you know what? In the past, I would have gotten a book written by April, but something about this was different. There was so much processing, so much healing, so much thinking, so much revisiting, relearning, reliving, that, you know, last month, I literally told my editor, let's try to publish next year. We've written a 3rd. It's really solid. It's incredible. The person I am now, there's no way that any type of coaching or therapy could have given me the healing that I have. But healing really does have its own timeline. And once you can just sit in that discomfort, like really get comfortable with being uncomfortable, once you can accept that, it makes life a lot easier. And which brings me to my 6th lesson, which is detaching from the outcome. And so once I was able to release, which was extremely difficult, I think in September, I had like a nervous breakdown almost, because the little girl in me felt like she had just totally abandoned ship. She had totally let everyone down. And, you know, there was a lot of reparenting that had to be done for my inner child, for her not to feel that way. And now it's like, I am so good with that book being in everyone's hands when it's meant to be there. It is an incredible journey. It is a hero's archetype, which I am just really thrilled to share with the world. There was a lot of fear I had to walk through in order to write this book, a lot of healing from a lot of gaslighting, and just reconnecting with myself and the purpose of it. And so once you detach from the outcome, your vision becomes so much more clear, because what happens is you are no longer creating for tomorrow. And that's what so many of us show up with every single day, that energy of like, okay, I got to quickly get this done. I need to quickly get this client. I need cash flow coming in. Like I need now. And then we just don't leave any room for what's to come. You know, what seeds are we planting in the future? And so by detaching from the outcome, you're able to start creating for the long-term vision. And, you know, one example of that is this podcast we launched in February of 21. It has had over 11,000 unique downloads. Now, what the part I find really fascinating is that roughly 40% of those downloads came from this year. And this year we hardly promoted. There were no new episodes. It just lived on its own. And I have no doubt that it will continue to just grow and live on its own. And this is what I love creating now. This is why I love creating courses. This is why I love creating the podcast, like being able to share resources, both paid and unpaid, that can live on, that are relevant to any stage, whether it's this year, next year, 10 years from now. Like when someone gets that book of mine,
and they're reading it in like 2083. They're not going to be like, you know what? She was supposed to actually publish this in 2022, but she was lazy. She just couldn't get it together. No one's going to say that. They're going to be like, wow, this book changed my life. So that's what I need to focus on. I need to focus on creating legacy. I need to focus on creating valuable pieces of art and work that are meant to live on. And I can only do that by detaching from the outcome, because again, that outcome is just a need to be validated. And if we can remind ourselves that when we need to be validated, we can actually do that ourselves, it makes the process so much easier. Which brings me to lesson number 7. Energetics are key. So what I have found in the past couple of years, as I really kind of become more aware of how I operate and how I generate and how I call in money and how I call in dream clients that I have the incredible opportunity to work with, is majority of it is energetics. There's of course some strategy there, and you may have heard me say before, like masculine and feminine energy. We all typically operate in our masculine. It's like, give me the checklist, give me the done for me templates, give me the like blueprints, like tell me how to show up, give me a call script. Like that's all very like do. But we're never taught. In fact, we're actually taught that it's not safe to actually be, to actually receive, to lean back, to trust. So like if you have a tight month, let's say that it's the 25th of the month and you're nowhere near your goal of your month. I can say with like 99% confidence, majority of you will be like, who else do I need to call? Who do I follow up with? Oh my God, I only have 5 days to make this work. Like panic mode, lack, I don't have enough. I need to be doing more. I should have done more. And this is not an energy that attracts money. This energy is like, ooh, this is not fun. This feels very stressful. Versus being like, I have so much space. There's 5 days left. So much magic can happen in those 5 days. Universe, like I am short, not short. Universe, I desire X amount. I know it's already on its way to me. I am ready to receive. I trust I do all the things that I feel called to do, and you'll receive it. I mean, the program that I run, 5K in 5 days, teaches just this. And it's insane. Like I'm going to feature her later on in the season as well, of how that program changed her life. Like she literally went from how am I going to sell 10 $75 arrangements to holy smokes, I just booked a $15,000 holiday install. Like it is really crazy how it happens. Now you can't just do energetics. We can't just say, here I am, I'm ready to receive. I mean, you can, but I find that it's good if you do both. And so energetics are key, listening to how you're feeling, what you're calling in, what your mind is telling you, what your feelings are telling you. We know feelings are not facts, but like really being aware of that, which leads me to my 8th lesson, which is being sad doesn't mean that something is wrong. There's been so many times this year that I've been really sad about something, and instantly my brain wants to mark it as wrong. So I'm sad because something bad happened or I made the wrong decision. And then the nervous system can't handle that. So the nervous system instantly wants to fix. So it's like, oh, let's go back on our word, or we didn't need that boundary anyway, or whatever it might be. And so it's having awareness and watching the dynamics in your life, especially on the healing journey, and especially as you're deconditioning the way you would normally respond to things, and reminding yourself that, you know, it's being sad is a human experience, just like being happy is a human experience. It doesn't mean that anything is bad or wrong, or that I've done anything wrong. I'm literally just sad, and that's okay. And now I get to decide how long I want to be sad for. That's another little tidbit there. It's like, do I want to just call it off for the rest of the day and just feel my feelings, and tomorrow's a new day? Do I want to give myself an hour? Do I want to call my friend? Like what is the best way that I can support myself in this moment. Which also brings me to lesson 9, like ride your anger wave. I recently had a huge deal fall through, like livid. I was at the nail salon cursing and very upset and crying to my husband about how angry I was. And those poor nail ladies, they did the best to remain discreet. I probably could have totally handled it, maybe a little bit better. I'd make it sound more dramatic than it was, but I was very upset. But here's the thing, you got to ride that wave. So many of us just push down our anger, and then someone gets us on the wrong day and it's just full-blown explosion, and that is not a vibe. Ride your anger, own it, allow yourself to be angry. Things happen. We feel wronged. People make the wrong assumptions about us. People don't treat us with respect or the way that we would want to be treated, or that we treat others. And that's all okay. It's happened. But what we choose to do with it is the part that really impacts us in our lives. So what I want to say out of this lesson is that you need to ride that anger wave, because that's where true art forms. So like all the rage, it's like, think about some of the most beautiful pieces of art that we have, or literature that we have, or movies or pictures, like all came from anger, from rage. And there is a beauty to it. And I can tell you that, from that morning sitting in the nail salon, getting this news, quote unquote, I'm out, and watching something I've worked on for almost this whole year fall to pieces, and knowing I had a huge lawyer bill to back it up, and just being so incredibly devastated and angry. A few hours later, after processing that, it was, oh my God, I've just had the greatest idea of my life. And it's not like we're going to revamp something. We're actually going to be reborn. Like, that's how freaking genius this is. And I'm going to be sharing more about it, because I'm definitely going to be needing your help to build this. And I can't wait to tell you what it is. But I probably wouldn't have been able to have that clarity and that download if I would have just pushed down that anger, because that's what we've been taught to do. Be nice. Don't make a scene. They didn't mean it. Like, push down. And I'm just not here for that. I'm here to be fully expressed. And I'm constantly learning how to be a better version of myself. I always think, like, if my clients were a fly on the wall, like, would I be proud of the version I am right now? And in that moment, I was definitely very entitled to my anger, but I'm so happy I did that, because I have finally gotten to a place where I feel good about it. And what's coming through is just better than I could ever imagine. Which leads me to my 10th lesson, which is you've got to walk with the fear. For so long, I thought once I quote unquote have it figured out, or once I quote unquote make a certain amount of money, or once I quote unquote have enough clients, or a certain spend, live in a certain place, drive a certain car, wear a certain brand, like whatever it is, the fear goes away. But that's just not true. The fear is always there. There's just a different level of the fear. And I've heard this a few times in the past, and I just thought, oh, but you're not me. You don't know what it's like. I've been through so much, and I had fear and I overcame it. And now I know I'm not going to be fearful anymore. But it's true. It's like, there is a fear. So here's the deal. I'm going to make it really simple for you, because I wish someone would have made it really simple for me. Every day, you get to decide if you want to walk with the fear. And what that looks like is holding on to the frequency of excitement. So nervousness and excitement have the same energetic frequency in your body. So you can just choose to be excited about everything in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be like toxic positivity where you're like constantly lying to yourself. But for example, before I go into like a big meeting, or before I go live, like, I could tell myself, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. Oh, I hate doing this. I'm so nervous. Guess what? I'm going to hate doing it. And I'm really nervous. Or I can be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited. I can't believe I get this opportunity to do this. And I can hold the frequency of excitement. And guess what's going to feel better? And guess what I'm going to have a better experience with? So the second thing I want to talk about when you're walking with fear is that you can remind yourself, okay, I'm scared, but I'm also excited. And I'm going to have one foot in gratitude because I'm so incredibly grateful for everything that I have accomplished up to this point. Like I've never let myself down. And I'm going to allow myself to have one foot in desire because I know it gets to be better. I know I can choose for it to grow, for it to expand, that I can have one foot in gratitude and one foot in desire. And I can trust that it's going to be better than I could ever imagine because I am not the universe. I literally have maybe like 3 ideas of an outcome where there is an infinite amount of possibilities for an outcome. And if I think that I know everything and I want to control everything, then I really limit the type of magic that I'm allowed to experience in my life. And if you're finding that this is your next level and you're like, oh, that feels so good. Like if you feel like your nervous system relaxing as you're listening to this, then what I would say is hire the support to walk with you on that path. For so long, I thought that when you hired support, it meant you didn't know what you were doing. And if you didn't know what you were doing, then you were a fraud. And therefore, if you're a fraud, you're basically a liar. That you should just know everything. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're either an entrepreneur or an employee. And, entrepreneurs, they know everything. It's their birthright. It's in their DNA. Therefore, they shouldn't ask for help. And even though I got far with that, I do believe you can only get so far with that. When I have really wanted to experience tremendous growth or to shed old layers of me that I know are no longer serving me, or I'm ready to really go for it, but I know I'm the one that stands in the way, I hire the support. I walk with the support. I invest in myself. I was just telling my husband today, like we get so caught up on return in investments. Like I actually sold all my real estate minus one, my condo in Mexico I still have, but like all my real estate this year, I went asset light because I truly believe that I am my highest return on investment. And we have no problem sticking money into tangible things because, in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll get X amount of return. But what about all the times that we put money in ourselves? Like, what about the $18,000 that I put into my floral design business when I started it that has now generated me like $750,000 or $1 million by now? What about the $9,000 I put into a program to learn about how to launch online courses that has now made me over $100,000, like $120,000? So it's like we never consider ourselves the asset, but like we're never going to let us down. Like there's always going to be a return. So if it's, hiring the support, hiring the team members, hiring the tools that are going to make your life easier. I'll never forget, like there's someone really close to my life who is a trader and would never buy the trading software. And at one point I was like, how much more money do you need to lose in order to feel worthy to have the trading software that you actually need to become the full-time trader that you want to be? Like, I'll do it when I make this. And I'm like, no, but that's so counterintuitive. Like you're going to make that no matter what. So, and here's the other thing that I also want to say, and that I realize it's like, you're going to spend in one currency or another. So you're either going to spend in time or you're going to spend in money. So we can think that we can do everything ourselves and therefore we can spend in time, but time also has a price tag to it. And in fact, is actually more expensive than money because we can't get any of that back. We can't get back our weekends. We can't get back our late nights. We can't get back our time away from our family. We can't get back the vacations we never took, but we can always make more money. And I don't know if this is like a very activating for some people, but when I had that realization, I was like, money does not define me. I can always make more. Like if I've made $1, I can make 10, I can make 100, I can make 1,000, I can make 1 million. Like it's just a matter of time. And if I've detached from the outcome, then the money is already here. The money is already coming. But I know what's not coming is more years of my life. So how do I actually want to live my life while I make more money? Because I can't make more life. And so hiring the support to walk with you on the path gets you there so much faster. Like you're going to figure it out no matter what, without a doubt. I mean, most things are not rocket science unless you're like a brain surgeon or, sending rockets to space. But the thing I have to say is that working with my clients, especially the ones that jump in one-on-one containers, especially the ones that are like in my Telegram containers where it's literally like Tuesday through Thursday, we're going back and forth, they skyrocket so fast. I've had clients come in, they have never even been in the floral business. And they're like, I have this wild hair. What do you think? I'm like, go do it. And within a month, they're like an artist in residence for a hotel. I mean, this is insane. So hire the support, invest in yourself, invest in your team, invest in your education. Like you are your highest ROI without a doubt. So I am so excited to be here with you again. This season is going to be unlike none of the other seasons. I've got some really fun interviews planned. I've got some really great solo episodes, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. And I cannot wait to chat with you again very, very soon.